Again, the Shen's followed by Splyce, and that's another Fizz. So far, the same bans by Unicorns on their side of the map. That's another LeBlanc one. They don't want to let Exileh get his hands on that.
Yeah, of course. Got the first kill of the game. Looked like it could have been problematic for Splyce, but some brilliant engages from Wunder on that Gragas. I wonder whether that'll get picked away from them, because you have to feel like they'll flex that Gragas off the first rotation if it's available for them.
A couple of mid laners banned out. As we saw the Syndra once again, the Orianna also followed suit, and that means Unicorns, they might get their hands on this Malzahar. The Lulu banned away, its stock rises yet again.
Yeah, again, the same thing. Xerxe is available this game, though, which we may see come through. Mikyx has played 3 games of Xerxe, but Karma has overwhelmingly been Mikyx's champion of choice. 9 games played on that, and it's not the Malzahar we go for. It's the jungler. Yeah,
they go for Xerxe as champion, and well, you talk about Ivern being a big champ for him. The Rengar's been not too far behind it right now. This will be his 7th game on that champion. And back over to Splyce's side, let's see what they've got to counteract it. Varus locked in real quick like, and it looks like they might be trending for the Elise once again.
Interesting they don't trend towards the flex Gragas. I think it was such a big part of this game, last game at least, that Splyce could have looked to have built from that, but I do like what they've done is they picked strong early game jungler now into this Rengar. They picked a good AD carry. We've seen the Varus, the Blade of the Rune King build worked so well for Kobbe in the last game. So it's not like what they're picking is bad. They're getting good picks at the same time.
Yep, it's the same thing. Talking about the picks and bans on the desk a little earlier on. So now the Malzahar is locked in for the Unicorns of Love, and with a few seconds, well, several seconds still left, they're contemplating a mid lane pickup.
Yeah, of course, looking for a scaling mid laner. We've seen a handful of games from Exileh on Vlad in previous splits, but I don't believe he's played it this split so far. Has trended away from that, more towards champions like Victor.
Yeah, all things change, it would appear, so Exileh gets his hands on Vladimir this time. And let's see what Splyce end up answering with. They don't need to pick their mid laner just yet. Looking at getting a support for themselves. The Tahm Kench has been a popular one.
Yeah, if they don't pick the Tahm Kench here, they would likely have banned it away. So leaving that top lane and mid lane matchup now into the second phase, that can be risky here, because if Unicorns of Love take away, you know, some of the other strong solo laners, the Cassiopeia may disappear here, or the Anivia may very well be taken off the board. Sencux is a quote-unquote legacy Anivia player.
Yes, indeed. Kassadin is banned away.
Kassadin's another one
that we've seen, and we've seen it happen on Splyce's side as well. And all right, the Rumble, that was also banned. Had to talk about that one. Big carry potential on those champions, but Wunder and Trashy both showed they don't need a carry to actually do a lot of damage.
No, they can do it on tanks, which might very well be the pacing of this draft here. As they take the Renekton away, Camille will be the next ban, you would have to imagine. And then Splyce, if they feel like Anivia is the matchup, or the Cassiopeia, that'll likely be the first pick. That allows them to then get the top lane matchup that they want, and basically have the counter on both solo laners.
Well, Splyce can get that counter. They'll be sitting pretty going into game number 2 when they're 1-up right now. Time on the board.
The other force here would be Camille left available, and then you end up picking the Swain into it, but that's not the direction that they go. Splyce, will it be this mid lane matchup here? Would make the most sense given the draft. Then Unicorns will likely end up taking the Caitlyn for themselves again into the Varus like the last game.
Yeah, bottom lane may not see a whole lot of change, although Splyce have a different kind of support set up, so they won't be pushing quite as much early on. We'll see what all happens as last 5 seconds tick down. Splyce, Sencux says, give me the Talon again, and he does it.
That is not the direction I thought Splyce were going to go on that. I thought they would probably take a mid lane matchup that would be able to deal with the Vlad. So Talon, early game, should be able to pressure Vlad and then move to other lanes. Again, looking to snowball other lanes throughout the game, whereas Exileh's going to need time on this Vladimir, get later on, and end up winning team fights late game, but Splyce, a little bit of a roll of the dice here. Ooh, and that's Lucian. A different one from the Caitlyn.
Yes, it is. Lucian coming a little bit up in priority. Well, a lot of AD carries coming up in priority after all the big changes, but let's not spend too much time talking about that, because, well, you never know the last pick.
It's likely Nautilus. And at that point, we'll probably see the Gragas in response from Splyce again.
Yeah, still some curveballs thrown this time around in the pick and ban phase. 5 seconds left, and it's the Nautilus lock-in for Vizicsacsi.
Yep. Nautilus, so will it be the Gragas? Will Splyce go elsewhere? They do have quite a lot of AD, so it has to trend towards an AP top laner here. Ooh, that would be a carry matchup that you can play, but that is heavy AD.
That is a Wunder special.
because Kennen, while obviously his kit has a lot of AP in it isn't likely to be an AP build out of this Kennen. So you've got Talon, you've got Kennen, you've got Varus. Yes, okay, there is magic damage that mixes in here. A little bit from the Varus, a little bit from the, well, quite a lot from the Elise as well, but Splyce going heavily into the AD route.
Yes, indeed. All right, we'll see if this is enough to get the big win on the board. Splyce are definitely looking for it here. They're one game up right now over the Unicorns of Love, who are trying to hang on to their first seed, but everything could change in this group B. H2K are definitely watching this one with a whole lot of interest, Stress.
Oh, they definitely are. H2K would love Splyce to win this. 2-1 is what H2K would love, because they don't want Splyce to gain too many points. But the Unicorns dropping points, that's what they really want here. Unicorns, of course, sat currently 1 series win ahead of H2K, and will this comp out of the Unicorns, which is a little bit more well-rounded. I like the Lucian coming in to supplement some of the early game. You've got your big tank in the top lane and then Vlad to scale throughout the game. I prefer this a lot more from the Unicorns.
Yeah, doesn't put them necessarily in one situation that they can only follow through on. They have to have a little bit of options here. We'll see how Samux does on this Lucian up against the Varus, Tahm Kench combo of Kobbe and Mikyx, but that bottom lane, that's not been what we've been focusing on throughout this series. It's the top lane matchup, it's the mid lane matchup, and it's those two junglers. They have been making all the impact. Let's see if Xerxe can make it happen on this Rengar. Elise, though, looking pretty good on Trashy right now. We'll see what happens as we load up for game number 2. Unicorns backed against the wall. Can they come back and force game 3? We'll find out. Well, the fans certainly think so, Stress. What do you think?
I think that we've never had such a close shot of that lizard on the Rift as we get into it.
It's a first today.
Do I think Unicorns can come back in this game? I think they can. I think this comp is a lot better. I think Splyce have a riskier setup than you would normally anticipate out of them. They absolutely have the opportunity to snowball this game if they can get going, get Wunder ahead, get Sencux ahead, and then never look back. But it's it's a tad risky here.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to take those risks. Splyce certainly did in last game, and so did Unicorns, but it was a lot of high stakes, a lot of action back and forth, and even if it started a little quietly.
So one thing that we were talking about is magic damage sources in this composition from Splyce. Now, the one thing you can't really overlook is Varus Blight stacks deal magic damage. So all of this build with the Blade of the Ruined King, the Hurricane, the stacks up super, super heavy in team fights, and then you proc them all with an ability, that will supplement some of this damage and curve it out for Splyce. But certainly when you look at things at this point in the game, not going to be a whole lot of magic damage to bring to the table.
Well, could be a problem for Splyce's side if Unicorns start stacking on the armor, but that'll be a while before we really start taking a look at that one. In the bottom lane, it's just a few trades back and forth, just love taps.
Unless it's Exileh, who's like, I'm going old school, give me cloth armor, give me potions, that's what I need to start this lane up against this Talon.
Yeah,
but Unicorns,
biscuits.
You can see the potency now of this Malzahar up against something like a Tahm Kench, who, at least in the laning phase, does get a good range advantage here, good aggression pattern. No, that's a weird way of putting that. Like, his trading pattern against Tahm Kench is pretty difficult to deal with for Mikyx.
Could be in trouble here, but Kobbe still has the range advantage, still able to punish a little bit. Let's see what happens checking in the mid lane right now, Exileh. He's going to need some time, but Sencux is already finding ways to damage him. He might just have to burn it. Oh boy, he's running all the way into his jungle.
The thing is, Exileh knew it would be flash for flash, and Sencux would likely kill him if he's stuck on top of him. And you can see Sencux will, of course, have that corrupting potion, get his health back. Exileh forced to use a potion early as well. But Vlad in the laning phase can struggle heavily here. Up against this Talon. Of course, Talon has a lot of damage early on. You can see Sencux trading his mana for Exileh's health and in turn Exileh's potions that come through this. Vlad doesn't have enough sustain from his kit enough yet to be able to survive through extended trades against Sencux.
Yep, Sencux is going to have the charges on his potion come right back again, too, so Exileh will have to pay for those ones instead. Trashy finding Xerxe in the jungle. They just trade back and forth. For the time being, Xerxe maybe wants to make the kill. As Exileh still finding Sencux, there's the blast cone taken. Bit of a wonky trade down there.
Yeah, mid laners had come across though, so Xerxe didn't really want to take that trade despite getting a good amount of damage down onto Trashy. Xerxe looked like he was pathing away, utilized that passive to jump out of the bush right onto Trashy.
Surprise!
Force that repel. Always got to be cognizant of where you're going around bushes against that Rengar.
Well, they definitely wanted to keep an eye on the junglers in this series, and they've definitely not disappointed. Trashy, 2 games in a row now on early game, trying to snowball his laners, his own champions. See if it's enough to do it twice in a row.
See if it's enough. Generally, though, a lot of these laners in other games, when they're not playing up against each other, get a lot of advantages on their own. Like Trashy and Wunder tend to do very well on their own. Trashy, however, is a much more 50-50 player, where if something does have a major positive outcome, he's going to go for it every single time.
Oh, he'll do it. He'll definitely do it. That's the Trashy thing. And, you know, as much as you have to give the Unicorns a lot of props for playing it out very cleanly around objectives and things like that, and what Exile's saying, trying to play the map as clean and close as they can, sometimes they still will opt into risky things themselves, but clearly Splyce are matching them that pound for pound.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about what Exileh was saying. I think it's a good aspiration. I don't necessarily think Unicorns are at the pinnacle of macro play in the LCS. I think they've been very solid, and I think there are aspects of their game that are very strong. Some of their skirmishing, some of their team fighting. But I think it's difficult to say that they're a better, like, macro-focused team than a team like G2, who, okay, they've been playing slow and steady, but generally when playing tough opponents, G2 are so difficult to deal with their objective control, setting up plays, looking to deny vision and take down towers. Unicorns do that at times, but I don't feel like they're doing it every single game.
Yeah, that's a good point. And honestly, it's easy to look at Unicorns where they stand right now and just say, man, this is looking like, you know, some of the best Unicorns play we've seen, period, because it's a team that's always playoff bound, but rarely do we look at them as being a top seed contender and holding on to it. But they certainly have the fan vote once again.
I was going to say, one thing is always for certain, the Unicorns, in the mind of the fans, always a love team. And honestly, they've played so well this split already. I think everybody underestimated them coming into this split. Obviously, the changes with Veritas as the AD carry, Samux coming in last minute. People weren't expecting that much out of the Unicorns, and they've come in and they have proved everybody wrong. They have looked right a top of the table team from week 1, and now Exileh has to prove it as he escapes a gank.
He does, and Xerxe even was able to turn that one around. A 3-man Hemo Plague is on, and they can't keep on chasing, but they are able to foil the Splyce attempt in the mid lane and actually look to keep on pushing here. Hylissang's only level 4.
Just like game 1, the roam from both supports, both junglers up towards the mid lane. This time it was Mikyx with the saving grace here, getting the devour down from Tahm Kench. Exileh now no flash though. We'll see if that can get punished by Splyce.
Yeah, he might. Oh, there's the Shadow Assault. Exileh, he pulls away. No flash. Sencux was able to force him back once again here, and Hylissang will retake in the lane. But I think it is important to note how well the Unicorns have been doing with some new players as well. Samux is one of them, but also the other one, Xerxe. It was hard to know how much to expect from this guy coming in, but he's been tearing it up, setting a lot of trends as far as junglers are concerned. Now, can he make his escape here? He does dodge one cocoon.
Yeah. It's easy to escape when no one can see you anymore. On that one,
yeah, it helps,
it's just like running away. As long as he dodged that cocoon was fine, had flash as well. But yeah, you talk about how he was setting trends, like a very early Ivern adopter. Like super early on in the opening weeks of the split, and it worked out so well for the Unicorns.
Yeah, and it's not the only thing he's done too. He brought it back last week, but the first time he played the Warwick was actually against this Splyce squad all the way back in week 3, and well, it worked 1 out of 2 games. It was enough to take the series.
Yeah, and we saw it again last week, and very fun to watch. A bit sad, hasn't made competitive in too many teams. Not a lot of teams have given Warwick that love over the last couple of months since the rework. Well,
not everyone's willing to try new things, but Unicorns have never been a team that's shied away from experimentation in the pick and ban
Trashy,
phase.
Looking for Wunder in the, looking for Trashy in the top lane though. This is where that focus has got to go. Xerxe's here.
Yeah, they do, but they find him in Lightning Rush here. Trashy's still stunned up. Xerxe hopping out of the bushes. Wunder is taken low. He's having to flash, and Xerxe follows him. He needs an auto attack for first blood, and he gets it. There's a trade back though. Both top laners lose their lives.
Yeah, Trashy can't quite close the distance for that second kill. Top side, it all went in favor of Unicorns at first, but then he realized Trashy was left on his own. Top laners fall, junglers pick up the kills, and Splyce want to try and get something mid lane as Unicorns were pushing bot. A lot of action in the lanes this point of the game.
All of a sudden, the switch starts flipping, and the Unicorns and Splyce, they both want to play. Mikyx and Kobbe looking maybe to get cut off here. Hylissang still doesn't have 6, but the Chains of Corruption were there for Kobbe. As he pushed him back, Mikyx going to have to swallow his AD carry up to keep him alive.
Yeah, a lot of damage got traded onto Splyce there. Samux, you can see untouched from that exchange, has that Bilgewater Cutlass, the start of this Blade of the Ruin King build that has been prevalent on Lucian for the last week or so. So now Splyce, this was the play on top side. They didn't have the read that Xerxe was here, but they didn't see him anywhere else on the map. No wards in the lower jungle. It was a bit of a gamble from Splyce of whether that Rengar was top side. It was a race for first blood, and Xerxe won it by flashing on top of Wunder and getting that kill.
Yeah, Trashy was able to get a little bit of retribution there, but I wonder if he hadn't stuck around with this top laner, maybe they could have turned the tide on Xerxe. Guess we'll never get the answer to that one, but all the same, top laners finding themselves one death apiece as there has been a lot of action up there. Exileh back in the mid lane here. He's been actually not doing too bad on the farm, but there's always the Sencux pop potential you got to watch out for.
Yeah, well, Exileh's now mostly out of the woods on the part where Talon is just going to stand up against him in lane and just kind of punish him every time he tries to farm. So you can see now that he's got a bunch of points in that queue, he can just easily trade against the Talon, and as long as he doesn't get ignited, as long as it's not an all-in, Exileh should be fine. He's able to push back the wave, opts towards that Seeker's Arm Guard first as well. And Exileh knows his job, his role, is for later in this game. He doesn't need to win now, so the fact that he's actually up in CS is a decent thing.
Yeah, did the same thing last game, and he was up against the Talon as well, but he was on that LeBlanc, a little bit easier to punish the aggression that Sencux was pushing out. And this time is a very different story now. Unicorns, they are looking for the first tower on the bottom side. Mikyx had already roamed into mid, and Unicorns have had a lot of wards to set this one up for. They want to try to make the play, but wary to this Splyce. Looks like they're going to try to close a trap of their own.
Yeah, they just got spotted on the Scryer's Bloom there, and that's going to call an end to this play, you would imagine. Unicorns, they are looking for the bot lane tower. That's the key thing here. But I like the response from Splyce if they can push Exileh back away from the tower. There are 3 members of Unicorns here, so I don't think it's going to result in the tower going down. Bot lane tower's already gone to this Lucian.
Yeah,
Splyce looked top.
Xerxe, he could be in some trouble right now. Trashy was tanking, but he is able to repel and dodge more of the tower shots, so they were able to take him out under tower. But meanwhile, Unicorns got first tower in the bottom.
Yeah, first tower and first blood of the game went over to Unicorns, so all of that extra bonus gold. Ooh, now Unicorns want to get the kill. It's a slow one.
Mikyx's going to have to flash. He has gray health. He is going to pop an instant exhaust down onto Xerxe, and in comes Sencux to tag in. Shadow Assault, Hylissang, he finishes the job on Mikyx, but will that be enough? Exileh taking a little low. He has to get a heal from help, and that's Kobbe flashing over the wall. Unicorns making big plays in the Splyce jungle.
Yeah, Splyce got that top tower. They lose a couple of kills, or at least a kill on the bot side with Mikyx falling. Sencux had to burn his flash and get away from the situation as well. So Splyce, they're trying to stay even with the Unicorns, who have been getting that extra gold for the first objectives, but now Xerxe wants to put an advantage that isn't based on gold. This one's based on teamfight power. Infernal Drake is the target. It's an easy take early on for the Unicorns from that opening of kills.
Yeah, not a whole lot of reaction Splyce can have. They had been setting up, making the play, a lot of vision covering the Splyce jungle, so after the kill, they pick up the Infernal. And with Exileh looking to scale, that'll help them out the longer this game goes on. Splyce are going to try look and stop this one, but Xerxe, he's trying to get out again, but round 2 might be coming. Trashy takes the Blast Cone, Explosive Spiderlings there, and boom, goes the Cocoon up and out. Looks like Xerxe, he's not going to get away from this one. He's not nearly as tanky as we saw last game.
And if that type of play happens later in this game, past the 20-minute mark, it will result in a Baron, and we'll touch on that in a second. This was Mikyx getting caught out in the jungle. Flash into the Nether Grasp. It takes a long time, but eventually results in a kill. You see Sencux come back in to try and trade. Does not respect the damage from Xerxe as Sencux went a little too close and then has to back away. But the Unicorns of Love always take these trades. At no point are they backing away. They say, okay, we're 3 versus 4, or 4 versus 3, we can take this, let's go aggressive. And they get a kill from it. Now they're looking to pressure mid.
Yeah, still have a few minions left, but it's going to get cleared away courtesy of Kobbe's piercing arrow. And man, as the dust settles, we're 2 to 3 in kills at 13 minutes on the clock, and it has been action on the mid laners really this time around.
And look at this top side vision. Control ward, yes, it'll get killed. Wards up the river, control wards in the river. Everything from Splyce is focused on top side, because if they get a kill past 20 minutes, 1 or 2 on the Unicorns. 2 Blade of the Ruined Kings and Elise turn right to Baron and say, okay, we're going to do this super quick. And they take Baron, they end up pushing multiple lanes because Kennen and Talon should be able to at least push out, and then they end up closing off the game. One of the strengths here from Red side as well is maybe they don't even need the kills. If that Blast Plant's up behind the Baron, if you can fake presence elsewhere on the map, you might get a very quick Baron coming down from all of this AD from the Blade of the Ruined Kings.
Yeah, we still got plenty of time before that becomes a reality since it's only 14 minutes into the game, but
you gotta set
I agree.
it up.
They got to get the setup. They got to make it happen, and there's so many options for Splyce here. We saw what Wunder could do on a tank. Well, we've also seen what he can do on a Kennen, just not for a couple of weeks, and they might need it, though, because it looks like Unicorns, they were trying to make a big play of their own in the mid.
And here's the setup from Splyce, in the sense that they defend the aggressive play in the mid lane. They lose the tower. That was always going down. Like, it was so low from the play that Unicorns had just made that it was inevitability that Unicorns would get that. But they've played on the top side. Sencux pushes out. Wunder pushes out on the bottom lane as well. However, it's not a successful play. They haven't got further towers from it because Unicorns have been able to react now. Wunder's going to get stopped. So ultimately, Splyce end up getting slowed down. It's not enough for them to get a lead.
Yeah. Splyce do slow down for just a little bit, but they're keeping themselves very, very close in the goal. Despite being down a tower, despite giving up first blood, despite giving up the first tower, they have been able to really keep this one close.
And Wunder is so far ahead now. 1,500 gold on his person ahead as Vizicsacsi has pushed back the top side. Chachi can't duel against him at all. Yes, he's a Nautilus. Yes, he's a tank, but Kennen does very well now. Blade of the Ruined King. This is why you build AD, is you bully people around with the auto attacks and stun them with the utility that comes from Kennen's kit. Who needs AP? When you've got all of that crowd control.
You're not wrong there, and he's definitely having a better game. And last time around, it was a bit of a different story. Still, Wunder was doing a lot of work, but definitely not able to dish. Well, I honestly wasn't able to dish as much damage, but he was doing quite a lot anyways.
Yeah, he was doing a lot on that Gragas. Body slams with that Sheen going Iceborne Gauntlet route, trying to get it. I don't know how much damage just came from that Sheen, but certainly Wunder made Exileh feel that a couple of times. A couple of kills where Exileh was like, I've got 300 health, I can do this. Gets bopped on the head by a giant cask.
And it's true to the playstyle of both of those top laners as well, because Vizicsacsi does like to play these supports. However, he still makes big plays with them. But Wunder, the man likes to carry.
He does. But the person on the Unicorns of Love that you feel like has to love carrying is Exileh. High kills per game. 0 so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends this game with 8.
There's plenty of time right now.
Because that's typically how he does it. He's on this Vlad scaling for the late game, which is where he's comfortable. Exileh picks up so many kills in team fight scenarios that this Vlad is kind of a near perfect pick for him when you look at it. He's able to control very well later on into the game, and wouldn't be surprised if Unicorns turn this game around with one big fight later on.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget what he's capable of doing on this champion as well, since he hasn't been the one who's played it so far. But right now it's Sencux who has to watch his back. Goes in, Shadow Assault, doesn't know Hylissang's here just yet. Xerxe a little low, but game senses are tingling, and he's not going in for round 2.
Yeah, I like the Unicorns play here though. Moving up to the top side, utilize this Lucian. Short range on Lucian makes it difficult to defend, difficult to push when there's defenders behind the tower, but the fact that Sencux has been forced away means Samux pushes up, takes the tower. Unicorns re-establish the gold lead. Wunder gets stopped in the bottom lane thanks to the Riptide from Vizicsacsi. And you know, I was saying about Unicorns turning the game back around. Well, they've been ahead in a little margin of gold for a while now. Now they've got a bit more of a substantial lead.
Let's see what they can do with it. Wunder, it's caught on the anchor by Vizicsacsi, but not a whole lot of kill threat there. And you can see Splyce are massing around the Dragon Pit. They want to be able to secure Infernal number 2.
It's not only the Dragon Pit they're amassing for a Abyssal Voyage. Wunder does get caught though. Rengar's here in the bot lane too.
Ooh, who's catching who? Oh, he's going to have to flash away, but you cannot get out of that ultimate. Wunder going down to Xerxe, and Mikyx and Trashy are a smidgen too late.
Wunder, I don't know whether it was him communicating that he didn't need help, but he needed it earlier.
Clearly the rest of Splyce needed too. Mikyx, he stopped up on the bullet strike, and Hylissang even gets an ult off onto Trashy. It's chains on him though. Let's see what's gonna come of it here. Hylissang a little low, but he's able to walk away. Two-man Hemoplague, Exileh coming flashing in, and they're gonna pick up Kobbe now. Xerxe still leading the charge. Unicorns have not backed off, they will have to do it now.
Yeah, Unicorns getting a great lead off this fight, and they punish Wunder for being too far up in the lane without any help. Splyce, they're running this side lane setup with only one teleport, so Unicorns of Love go aggressive towards the TP user. Mikyx was not close enough with the rest of the team to be able to Abyssal Voyage in early enough. It's only rank 1, so they had to close that distance. Oh, Sencux.
He might pick up one. He's got almost another Exileh. I don't think they realize how much damage he can dish, and Trashy still on top of him. Exileh's looking to turn around with the help of Samux, and Wunder gets the kill. There's the parkour to try and make his great escape, but Trashy might not be so lucky. Samux is hot at his heels. Spiderling's following through, but Mikyx is going to deter him, and Splyce just come up with a
Wunder's
big stop. There he goes, throwing the shuriken, not going to get the stun off.
Didn't have that empowered shuriken, so couldn't land the auto attack with the W to get him locked down. You can see Samux could have got that kill. If he was being greedy, he could have autoed the minion to lower the cooldown on his E, dashed forward, got the auto attack and killed Trashy, but he knew he would likely be dead if he did it, because Mikyx was there, Wunder was there. That would have been enough to take him out. You can see Samux playing very controlled on this Lucian, has a good lead, hasn't picked up any kills from himself, but he knows it's Exileh that's going to carry later on.
But Samux was mid, trying to push in tier 2 while the rest of Unicorns were doing this dragon. Maybe they would have had enough damage to finish it off, but all the same, Sencux came off huge, and that's going to get secured by Kobbe while Xerxe came in to try and get the kill. There's a teleport, is going to get canceled, and Mikyx is a little bit low right now. The fights just don't stop. Xerxe is going to get Mikyx, but he gives his life in response. Sencux Shadow Assault's out of there, and Exileh still leading the chase. Gets one big Hemoplague onto Kobbe. Out of the pool he goes, and he's taken out, but he takes the AD carry with him.
Big trades all across the map, but the one that we didn't see because it was top lane was Xerxe dying 1 versus 1 to Wunder. I'm pretty sure Xerxe cancelled the TP out of Wunder and died for it. This Kennen is so difficult to 1v1. Wit's End Blade of the Ruined King is just going to eat through the Nautilus, and Unicorns of Love got shoved in topside from it. Splyce lost 2 in the mid lane fight. They evened those kills up. And ultimately, there's no real gain in objectives from that fight. Splyce took the dragon to begin it. Unicorns answered back. And it's quite an even trade. Splyce coming out a bit ahead because of the extra kill plus the dragon. Nice steal attempt out of Xerxe. So top lane, I believe it gets cancelled by Nautilus. Yeah, that was a hook onto that Kennen. You could see the profile, the portraits move towards each other. Unicorns of Love then continue this fight. Samux gets locked down. That's a lot of missing damage from this fight, and they end up cut away around a wall, and that means Exileh ends up dying. I've seen this scene before. Okay, well, while we come back, Xerxe's able to take out Wunder, but he had a little help that time around in the form of Xerxe, and it's 8 to 9 in kills, and they've been spread across the board. It's not just in this mid lane. I've seen that one before, about 3 minutes ago, where Wunder was pushed up in the bot lane and Mikyx couldn't save him. This time, Mikyx didn't even try and save him, as Wunder maybe has to play a little bit more respectful on this Kennen.
Yeah, he can definitely 1v1, but it's never just a 1v1 when there's a Rengar on the map. Xerxe made sure of that, and they were able to get another kill. But moment of breathing space, maybe not for long. We're just shy of 22 minutes in the game. And there is a gold lead on the Unicorn side. It is 1,500. Not a huge advantage for them. And there are Infernal Drakes apiece. Xerxe getting caught, but it's anchors away. He gets himself out of the danger zone. And now you can see the beginnings of the European Baron Dance.
Yeah, we'll see whether they're setting sail for fail on the Baron Dance, because we've seen a lot of teams mess it up. But Splyce, we talked about their Blade of the Ruined King builds. I don't think they're going to be able to just take it when the Unicorns are still here. They have to be able to get a trade first. Wunder is showing bot side with no TP. That's a mistake. He's now going to come across, has Lightning Rush, can do it very quickly. But what this means is Unicorns theoretically have no fear around this Baron pit now. They can clear out all of the wards. You could see what Splyce could see just a moment ago. And it's easy for Unicorns to take control because Wunder is the other side of the map. Now he's regrouped with the team, and Splyce have a little bit more security.
Yeah, looks like a 5v5 though. Unicorns, they want to take it. Protobelt goes in. Sencux gets eaten up by Mikyx as Samux spends his calling. It's going to be the end of it for now.
Look at how difficult it is for Splyce to take the fights. We were talking about how they were decisive in the last game with the Gragas, and they needed that tool to start a fight. Well, unless it's Abyssal Voyage bringing Kennen into the back line, who, because you're building AD, you don't have anything like Azonius to survive. That's not your role in these fights. Splyce will have a difficult time starting fights off without catching with like a Varus ult, which Unicorns, they should be safe from anyway.
They should be. But should and is are very different things from what we've seen so far.
Just used Abyssal Voyage to regroup because he went back to get wards. Oh, Wunder flashed away.
So with Sencux, nowhere for him to go right now. He was locked down by the Nether Grasp in just a couple seconds to wave goodbye, going right back to Fountain, the express route, and Trashy. The rest of Splyce, they were caught with their pants down.
Yes, Splyce just couldn't get themselves close enough to save Sencux. It was too dangerous. And now Unicorns have turned this game completely in their favor. They're going to push the mid inner tower, and Splyce don't have the strength on the side lanes because Wunder has been punished twice. Wunder hasn't even been able to take that bot lane outer tower in the last 10 minutes of the game while he's been trying.
But at least he has teleport this time around. However, there's still a good 12 seconds before Sencux is going to come back up. The question is, do Unicorns risk rushing the Baron? It looks like the answer is yes. As the word comes in, it's not going to spot a thing because of the control denying the vision, but Splyce are looking to make the fight. Teleport not finished yet. Exileh goes in, gets chunked, but he's Vladimir staying alive. Mikyx going to fall, and Wunder gets a massive stun, but not enough damage, and no follow-up means he's going down. It's a double kill for Samux as he unloads the culling into Kobbe. Xerxe walking it out, staying alive. Trashy on the front line. Anchor goes wide, but it doesn't matter. They get 3. And in comes Sencux, getting a quick one to fire on back. He's going to have to go on the retreat, though. Let's see if he parkours in for another. Looking for Exileh. There's the pool denial. In comes Xerxe. And those knives are sharp.
Yeah, got baited in. It's Sencux. It's only Trashy that remains, and Unicorns aren't going to chance the Baron attempt from it. But Unicorns have become so strong right now. You can see 2 items on the Lucian. This Vladimir has started to get really strong in fights despite not having the items yet to go alongside it. And there's no real damage source because, look, Wunder TP's into this fight, which if this is AP Kennen in the old days, you pull a Smeb here. You hit 5 people with the ult, everybody loses their health, everybody's dead. This is AD Kennen. You need time, you need auto attacks. This isn't even AD carry Kennen where you have a hurricane. This is all about 1 versus 1, and when you're 1 versus the world, it's not going to be an easy survival task for the Wunder in that. And honestly, Unicorns of Love just having such a big advantage as Splyce filter into these fights one after the other. Sencux gets baited in, and Unicorns end up coming out way ahead from it.
Yep, that's a big one for the Unicorns of Love, extending that gold lead. 26 minutes now on the clock, and Hylissang's on ward clear duty, but the Baron, it has been the big purple worm dangling in the face of Splyce, and Unicorns, they've not needed to honestly nom on the bait. They've just been able to take fights around it. Down to the bot, Trashy is keeping Wunder at bay for second-tier turret, and we have some time. It's teleport advantage for the Unicorns.
Well, this is the position that Splyce will actually be okay with here. Wunder's in the 1 versus 1. He's got a significant lead as long as they don't need him in a fight, because Trashy still has his TP available. So Wunder's options here are push against Trashy. If he TP's out, I'm just going to have to try and kill him or take an inhibitor behind him, because the rest of the team is probably going to die in a fight. So this is a difficult comp for Splyce to play out from behind.
There's the teleport. Oh, yeah. Are Unicorns going to rush this? I think so.
Is Wunder going to stay bot side? Wunder's going to try and come up for the fight. Sencux has been chunked.
Oh boy, there's the Hemoplague on. Is it going to be enough to pop his health bar? Denied. Mikyx swallows him up there for a second.
Unicorns are going to get this before Splyce can really react, unless it's a Hail Mary steal.
Trashy had gone bottom. He's coming back, though. Can he skitter fast enough?
Mikyx is going to
be able to not spot this. No, it's going down to 2,000. In comes Trashy. He's going to get denied, and it's smited away by Xerxe.
Good nether grasp over the wall from Hylissang, denies the steal attempt. And here's where you have to question if Wunder stays in the bot lane. Okay, it's like looking at things and saying hindsight's 20/20, you would have got a tower from it, but Splyce end up with nothing from it. Unicorns have the Baron.
Yep, they keep getting these advantages now. Unicorns are trying to even up this series after disappointment in game number 1. Sitting at the top of Group B right now, trying to keep it that way, but for Splyce, they played a difficult to execute composition, and at the moment, they're getting outplayed by the Unicorns.
Yeah, Unicorns are just dragging Splyce around the map, trying to punish Wunder when they can, attacking that TP. bringing him up to the fight when he could have been bot side. I mean, Splyce is struggling in that respect. You've got to look at it like, okay, Wunder is heavily up in CS. That's a good thing in the 1 versus 1, but when the game isn't about that 1 versus 1 because Wunder isn't strong enough with the rest of Splyce, you have to start looking at this and say, okay, the game plan from Splyce just isn't working this game against the Unicorns. Unicorns are playing around it too well.
Well, and the front line's in a state of flux, right? Because Trashy's working on getting himself the tank items, but it's been Mikyx's job most of this game, and that's been difficult. They've been able to catch him, take him down 4 times, and now, with the Baron-empowered minions, they take an inner tower. That is 5-2 on the game. Unicorns keep on charging through. Let's see if Splyce can stop the onslaught.
We'll see if they can. Difficult to push up when there's defenders there, as we were talking about for Lucian. Samux has opted for rapid fire cannon to try and fix that. Oh, here's the fight.
Oh, and they take down Mikyx again before the Grey Health can come in. Wunder stopped up for just a second, gonna have to flash into his base.
Exile's going in.
Exileh, and he's in the pool to deny the stun. The Hemo Plague's on. Exileh gets a kill. Trashy's gonna fall. A big shutdown for Samux. He gets a double, and Sencux is forced to back outside his base.
Unicorns of Love, they're gonna push in from this, just like the last game. It's the first Baron that ends it because Unicorns of Love have put them in such a good position. 6-0-4 on Samux. He can cut through these towers like nobody's business.
Yep, and now that the minions are arriving, it's only Sencux to try and save the day. Mikyx still a few seconds before he comes back up. I don't think any amount of parkour is going to keep this game alive for you, Sencux. Down he goes, Xerxe claiming the kill. And man, did we have a lot of action in game 2, but guess what? It's all tied up. We are going to a game 3, Unicorns of Love with the equalizer.
Solid game out of the Unicorns. There was this aspect of comfort picks, then you bring the meta in as well, and Unicorns of Love, that was a lot closer to what Exileh was talking about earlier, about the macro play, about, hey, we're one of the best teams, in their minds perhaps the best team at this, and they played very well around a split-pushing Kennen, and just never let Wunder really get his groove on. Like, every time Wunder was there early on, Rengar was there with the Nautilus. You 2 versus 1, easily get the kill. And despite Wunder having a CS lead, you don't let them play the comp.
Yep. Doesn't really matter too much if you shut down what the Kennen's designed to do. And Splyce, they tried for some trick plays of their own, but it just didn't work. So, big ups there. And Samux going out on a limb and taking the Lucian, and he didn't die the whole game.
Yeah, it was a solid game out of him. We've seen a lot of Lucian in recent times. Looked good for Samux. Unkilled.
Yep. Extra range on the rapid fire. I mean, they were, again, we talked about it right before the game was over, but the front line for Splyce was kind of mix and matching around because they needed the Kench to be there, but he's a support. He's not going to have as much gold. He's not going to have the stats.
And that's the difference, is like, there's almost no front line, because Kennen, like, the only front line with Kennen would be if you're playing AP and everybody's dead already. Like, he's not one that's going to survive through it, especially this AD build, like, which is a solid setup. If you can force the split push, if you can force the tank out onto the side lane, Splyce's composition should have done well, but Unicorns played around it beautifully, bringing Xerxe to the fight and constantly punishing Wunder when he was overextended. Yeah, and unfortunately for them, Splyce anyways, it's 1-1 right now, but still, even though they can't get the perfect 2-0, they have a chance if they play like they did in game 1. And you know who's probably applauding the most from that result? Wait, I'm guessing it's 3 letters. H2 what? H2K. All right, we're deadlocked here in this best of 3 between Unicorns of Love and Splyce. For a closer look at how game 2 panned out, we're sending it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pyra. I think for this one, we really have to talk about picks and bans because we saw massive changes coming in on the side of the Splyce. So let's just start by taking a look at the top lane matchup. Now we went from Gragas versus the Nautilus. Now we have the Kennen coming in versus the Nautilus as well. Huge shift. Yeah, and obviously that was a comfort pick now for Wunder, getting that Kennen Kennen split pusher up in the top lane. In order to kind of get to that point, I think we can just go through like the pick order. Everything we're kind of locked in. I think it's really fun to kind of break down the pick and manifest in itself. Like first pick, as you guys can see down the bottom, Rengar. Still considered one of the top junglers. Weaker than before, so you can deal with him, but he's still such a fantastic pick, especially against teams who like to play split push, and that we can talk about later. Rotation from Splyce, in some ways standard, in some ways surprising. I think Varus is still a pick that some teams consider very high tier, especially also on 7-6, small change to him, so you can still take him early. I'm not the biggest fan of it, and the Elise pick was the one we kind of questioned as well, being like, you don't have to show jungler here. But the reason they did it is because they were hoping that either one, Unicorns would pick Malzahar, and they could counter pick it with Tahm Kench,
or Unicorns would not pick Malzahar, and Splyce could take Malzahar in the last rotation here where the Tahm Kench is, and then ban out counters to him and get this super strong Malzahar dual lane in the bottom lane. But obviously, with the takeaway from Unicorns, they had to settle for Tahm Kench.
And this is really interesting because I feel like the Tahm Kench didn't help as much as they wanted it to do, and it wasn't like it was denying as much pick potential. It wasn't like it was used as well for those big macro plays. So for me, that feels like a big question mark. Sure. However, the Elise, while we were skeptical as to what could have been, the pick overall worked incredibly well in the early games.
Yes.
When we take a chance to look at this first replay, you can see the Danish Huni Reignover, as they call themselves, making some Huni Reignover-esque plays. The constant focus on the top side does really pay off for Splyce here overall.
This is such a well-executed dive. Like, Wunder realizes really quickly as the tower aggro steps out for 1 second, it goes over to Trashy. He resets the aggro with Repel, so they get that 1 kill. And then Wunder gets a solo kill. Well, he sets up what could be a solo kill, but then obviously Trashy is here to ruin the day and get the kill with him. Notice the flash from Wunder, by the way, when he knows Xerxe's gonna hook into the wall, bam, blocks it instantly. Like, really well played by these two guys. What you need to do as well with the Kennen AD carry here, we go back to the pick and ban phase real quick. As you guys can see here, they took the Talon against Vladimir to save that last pick for Wunder. They could have gone Gragas here again, like they did in the last game against the Nautilus, but they said, no, what, guys, we don't have Malzahar this time. We have Tahm Kench ulti, can be used from mid to the side lanes, so let's go full split push. So let's last pick Kennen here. That's why they adapted, because they didn't have the Malzahar, because they had the Tahm Kench ulti to play pure split push. Issue is, when you play pure split push, as soon as you get into team fights, it goes wrong.
Yeah, and the issue that I have is that it feels like they were winning team fights. They built a comp that could team fight despite having some 1-3-1 elements.
In the first game.
In the first game.
Yes.
But this game, they took out the vast majority of those teamfight elements. Talon, you can argue, still has some decent presence in teamfights, but Kennen, of course, without an AP build, which is just not viable anymore, is just useless, completely useless. We saw time and time again the Kennen TP coming in. It's like, hello, squishy Kennen with no Zanyas. Like, are you going to do anything here? No, you're gonna die immediately. It just it didn't really make sense to me. So I'm wondering, does Splyce now shift their attention back to just playing a team comp with more team fighting strength?
Maybe they can still play 1-3-1 if they get rid of Rengar. And I really want to give a lot of praise to Xerxe in this game. I think he played fantastic. The thing people need to understand is when you play these really squishy split pushes like Kennen, even a Talon, Rengar just destroys you. Like, he ruins your day because his ulti can be charged for such a can be charged so far away, and it's so easy for him to jump these squishy targets, and he will just one-shot you.
Yeah, and we saw that when we saw once again Wunder kind of overextending, maybe not respecting the Rengar. And as we look at this replay from a team fight coming in on the bottom side, this is Wunder.
Right.
Thinks for a second that he's got the advantage here, but then Rengar, the eyes appear above his head, and he just knows that he's done.
And we call it overextending. Like, you were doing your job. You were trying to push this side lane. The problem is Rengar can just appear from so far away that unless you have full deep vision, you're not gonna spot him, and it stops you from split pushing. So because Unicorns had Rengar and Nautilus was set up the gank with CC, very quickly Splyce realized they can't actually split push right now. They have to just abandon this because they're losing kills in the side lane with the Kennen dying. They got forced into fights, and that's where the rest of Unicorns comp really benefited from that and started just winning fight after fight. So Xerxe and Vizicsacsi as a duo, where we had early in the game the Reignover, or we had the Trashy Wunder combo. Later on in the game, it was Xerxe and Xerxe, and that's why we highlighted this top lane matchup with the junglers as the important thing coming into this series, because those 4 members against each other, like 2v2, are just so key. First game went in favor of Trashy and Wunder. This game went in favor of Xerxe and Vizicsacsi, forcing the Kennen into team fights, which is where he doesn't want to be.
And I want to hit you with one last question. If you want to see a shift from the side of Splyce coming into Game 3, what do you think needs to change?
I think if you want to run your 1-3-1, Rengar needs to be off the table, but I think you should try and get that Malzahar again and see if you can just match team fights, because that seems to be the best way for both teams to try and win this, and it becomes this really crazy fight all game long.
All right, well, we're going to go explore Demacia, but when we return, we'll have the decider between Splyce and the Unicorns of Love. Demacia! That was off.
That was terrible.
You try. If you get it in first try, if my life.
Yeah.
What? Oh! What? Oh, actually close.
Ooh, who's catching who? Oh, he's going to have to flash away, but you cannot get out of that ultimate. Wunder going down to Xerxe, and Mikyx and Trashy are a smidgen too late. And Mikyx is a little bit low right now. The fights just don't stop. Xerxe is going to get Mikyx, but he gives his life in response. They get 3, and in comes Sencux, getting a quick one to fire on back. He's going to have to go on the retreat, though. Let's see if he parkours in for another. Looking for Exileh. There's the pool denial. In comes Xerxe.
Nice. I need to reset. Okay, we need to reset. We need to reset. Cage top. Okay.
And man, did we have a lot of action in game 2, but guess what? It's all tied up. We are going to a game 3. Unicorns of Love with the equalizer.